What are we waiting for?
We scoping the place out, man. We ain't gonna just run up in there. That's how you get shot.
Say that again. You wow. Ooh. Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely
Man, you don't know
not.
nothing about no war.
Everybody knows war. Who? Yeah. What it is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Good God, you all.
It ain't you all, it's y'all.
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 Man, you sound like a karate movie. Y'all.
Y'all.
Say it from right here with some soul. Y'all.
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 Let me show your goofy ass how to do this. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Come on, come on.
Giants fans, what is going on? And welcome to another episode of Draft Talk. We are coming down to the wire. We've hit just about every position. And now we're back to a position of the need for the Giants. Will they draft a safety to address the hole that has formed now that Xavier McKinney is gone? Of course, Dane Belton is there. We don't know how he's going to transform. He had a pretty good year last year, but can he be the guy to consistently do it? We're back to a critical position. I'm looking forward to talking about this one. We got the huge in the house. Truth, what is going on, my friend?
What's up, Spartan? And I totally agree with you. This is a very important position now because the X-Man has gone to the Packers.
Right. No, exactly. And, this is a need that's not always on the top of the mind of Giants fans, first and foremost, but it's the most pressing one, in my opinion, on the defense. Yes, we can argue that we could use another cornerback. Yes, we can argue that we can use another edge. I think, and unless Belton develops, or takes the next step forward, we'd have to argue that there's a serious gap here because McKinney, who, on his worst day was still a guy that could hold down the fort, is gone. So This is something the Giants are going to have to address. The interesting thing is here, there's virtually no chance they do it in the first round. And a big part of that is because none of these safeties are probably first rounders, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But if there's one position they could find a starter at on day 2 immediately for this year, it's one of these guys. So don't be surprised.
No, not at all. And the Giants have a history of getting quality safeties in late rounds throughout their recent history. So they could do it again this year.
Let's talk about, hold that thought because I do want to talk about that. But before we have all these fun conversations, we have to add the last ingredient for the night. Sean, what's going on?
What's up, guys? How we doing?
I wiped all the tears away of the UNC trash talk that you delivered, and then they beat us in the tournament for the 6th time in forever. We've never beat you guys.
6-0 in the tournament.
Oh my Lord! Well,
so
I'm glad for you, regardless. And fortunately, Michigan State won the Big Ten hockey championship the other night while I was there against Michigan. So we had a nice little recovery after that loss. But congratulations. So we were just saying, Sean, and this is a point that Mike has brought up that I haven't considered. Truth, what's the background here? The safeties of the Giants are saying that we have a history of getting them in later rounds. Can you go through some of the dudes
I could go back to the one. My favorite was Myron Guyton that the Giants drafted. He was a 5th-round pick, and he was phenomenal as a New York Giant. He actually was an unsung hero on those great defenses. And you don't talk about the safeties back there, but he was a quality player. And that's the guy I think about, that the Giants, when they go get a safety on day 3.
Yeah.
And he was a difference maker on special teams, too. So,
yeah.
And I think back to who's the Giants safety they got for the 2011 season? They got him the year before from Arizona, Antrell Roll, right?
Roll, yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think. Truth. I mean, have we interviewed them? I thought Craig's brought his name up before. I don't know if you guys ever.
I don't think we've had him on our show. That would have been a nice one, getting him on our show, but I don't believe we've gotten him.
I think when we got him, it was one of the biggest free agent acquisitions to date. I mean, at that point in time, with a secondary player, you know,
Yeah, that was
he was
big.
a huge. Yeah, that was big, and he was a huge help to the Giants Super Bowl team in 2011, right?
Yeah, and I think around that time they had Gabriel Wilson was another guy they drafted in the
Jabril Wilson, right?
Jabril Wilson. He was another quality safety they got in day 3. So I really think we're going to talk about some of these guys. Shawnee has a few good ones. You have, I have some. I really think the Giants have a good chance of drafting one in this year's draft.
Absolutely. It's very likely, not only from the standpoint of even if you don't get your starter, I mean, the depth there is pretty crucial, right? So I expect them to make some move for safety. But listen, guys, we're going to go through it. We're going to go through all the dudes that we have. First of all, I just want to say thank you all who's tuning in because you guys have all been here throughout the entire offseason. Darius, what's going on, man? Yes, we agree. We're going to do everything that we can to get Roll. Deion Grant, if we can. We leave Craig to do all that stuff. But actually, no, Sean, you got your Illuminar is going to come on the show because of you. So we owe you that one.
That's right.
Mark, always just appreciate you coming through. Mark, you as well, man. Bill, what's going on? And then whoever the hell you are. All right, awesome. So, Sean, let's start from the top with your dudes. All right, because you're going over some of the more premier players. Now, granted, things could slide all over the place because we're dealing with guys that are likely to go in the second round or later.
Yep.
But let's just start off with like the top dude in the draft, most likely, right?
Yep.
Tyler Newman out of Minnesota. Tell me about him. Minnesota's produced some pretty good defensive players as of late.
Yeah.
And you know, I would expect this guy to be no different. They're calling him as good as he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you think most recently Antoine Winfield Jr. and Newman actually set the all-time interception total for Minnesota. So it's pretty good right there. I mean, he's good size, 6'1", 199. So that prototypical size you're really kind of looking for at safety. The speed is the one thing where he kind of some concern. He's a 4.62 at his pro day with that.
There's a couple of those guys mixed in here.
Yeah.
A lot of them got that heat.
Yep. So that's the one concern that they really have for him. But I mean, he's got the side, the length, the instincts. He's really he's got the same. I brought up Winfield a minute ago. He's got the same prospect grade as Winfield had. So you know that's really good there. He probably a round 2 guy is what they're projecting. And I think that has a lot to do more of how many wide receivers and quarterbacks are in his draft and necessarily where he lines up. You know what I mean?
Tackles.
Yep. But he's the top safety without a doubt. And he really gives his comp has been Marcus Williams, you know, Saints and currently on the Ravens, which is a pretty good comp right there. But again, I mean, if you set the all-time interception leader in Minnesota, that's pretty good considering the guys that come out of there. So, I mean, I like him. He's top guy. He probably won't be there for the Giants, but you know, again, he's a top guy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the name that you keep seeing at the top of the list here. And, you know, it's interesting when you get to guys where, for the most part, the degree of separation becomes a little bit slimmer and slimmer. It's harder to find those things that are elite about a player. But, you know, I feel like when you're judging the secondary player, you're almost kind of trying to figure out what he can't do as opposed to what they can do. Like, you know, against the man. I mean, is he able to do it or not? How is he about reading the defenses? How is he about, you know, picking up various assignments? And, of course, this is the one that frustrates a lot of people, including former players like Carl Banks, the tackling quality. You know, there's been a big decline with the secondary players with tackling quality. And you know, if somebody's a good tackler, I mean, I'll have that as a plus now. It should be it should be a given, but it's a different age. It's a different age, and it's not. So I have to mark that as like a plus.
Yeah, you know, another thing about this guy, you know, Shawnee talked about his 40 time. When I watched him on film, he looked faster to me, and I was wondering, and I think it was because he had good instincts. He anticipates the play. Yeah. He gets to his spots quicker. So sometimes, you know, when you look at that 40-yard dash, it doesn't really transpire. into game speed, when they play.
Yep,
Right.
he's a game speed guy. Those instincts, that's the big thing that everybody's talked about with him. He does. And that can get him in trouble too, because sometimes those instincts kind of betray him and he tries to make a big play, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well, what about the next guy? Because I've heard his name a lot too out of USC.
Yeah.
Kalen Bullock?
Yeah, so another guy that where I just mentioned with Newman is, he's such a ball hawk that sometimes you can go for that big play and it gets him a little bit of trouble. But again, he's got that prototypical size, 6'2", 188. He's definitely that fast guy, 4'4", 4'8", 40, and he plays fast, on film as well, which is nice. So again, he's long, he's athletic. He is that feast or famine type, which can get him in trouble. He's got the quick burst, and he, his strength, those smooth strides. He's definitely a ball hawk for sure. A little issue with the run. He takes bad routes going at the run, recognizing the run. So as you were just talking about earlier, that with Banks with the tackling mentioned, so that's something where he can use some improvement there. And then his comp. Now this is an interesting comp. But the other thing about him, I'll say real quick, is that he plays almost like with wide receiver attributes. So the hands, how he goes after the ball, the angles he takes, which is a big advantage for a safety that's able to do that, right? So, but his comp, and this is a guy that recently just came in, they comped him to L'Jarius Sneed. So, again, he's a guy that I think. Coach him up. I think he can be a really good safety in the league for sure.
Yeah, and he's got that body where you probably can put more weight on him. He's a little bit lean, but he's strong for his body weight. So I agree. I think he could be a very good quality safety in the league.
Yeah.
And I do try to be conference agnostic a little bit when breaking down players, and especially linemen or quarterbacks. I'm a little bit more indifferent, but if there's a conference that has more passing than other conferences, I kind of weight that into consideration. And there were a lot of games that, even though they had a really good quarterback, did depend on the USC defense to come through against very competitive offenses that can light up the scoreboard. So, again, if he was playing good football against that, I feel like he was battle tested pretty hard.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And like I said, you can always work on his tackling. You can make him better at the run. And you have ball hawk, if you got it or you don't, in my opinion. So if he's coming out with having that, that's what you want to say out of that safety position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is
what at least he's fighting for it, right? It's not like he's just trying to avoid the tackle. He's going out there for the ball.
Yeah, it's just bad angles, bad routes to it is those instincts or that big playmaking ability gets him in trouble. But when you talk about ball hawks, that's what Belton was coming out of college, right? And he showed it last year, which is with Shane drafting those guys. Maybe this is a guy they take a hard look at and really go after if he's another ball hawk.
For sure.
And you mentioned Newman's like early round 2. What do you think this guy Bullock's going to go?
He'll be a day 2 pick, so somewhere in that range. Again, most of the guys I'm talking about are like we mentioned at the top. Then I haven't seen a first round anyone I'm looking at, and most of these guys are round 2, round 3, day 2 picks in that range. So that's what they're looking. So if you're gonna take somebody there, that's good value, in my opinion.
All right. Well, what about your next guy out of Washington State? We got Jaden Hicks. Tell me about him.
Yeah. So, again, good size, 6'2", 211. Another guy with decent speed, 4.59. But he's got that size that the teams want. He's angular. He's long. Again, what you want out of the safety position, right? He's good closing, and he can play in the box. So we were talking about how you do against the run earlier. So this is a guy that can handle playing, in the box against the run.
Sure.
He's stronger as a cover man, but he's got good ball skills. And he's really, I like his comp because, again, another guy who's had a good career and got paid pretty well. They liken him to Jesse Bates. So if you can bring in a guy like that, again, that's somebody who can be successful in this league. And again, you can play in the box. You got good size. All good things there. He's going to be a middle round pick is where they're kind of projected there. So
like third or fourth.
Yeah, probably in that round, third or fourth.
Okay, for sure. Well, I'd love to go back and just see his full game highlights against Oregon and USC while he was there. I would love to just see it because then he would have been battle tested by two of the top quarterback picks. Not sure. I mean, not sure. Of course, things are dependent of how he played and of course the receivers that he covered and what exactly the deals were. But
yeah. I mean, they're high, and again, you comp him to Jesse Bates. That's showing something right there with what he did, right? So
yeah.
He's another guy. He's going to be one of the top guys going, for sure. Again, where they're projecting him isn't conducive to where his skill set lies, but he's the guy that I do. He's one of the guys on my list that I'm high on.
Totally,
sure.
I totally agree, and I think the safety position, you're going to see a lot of these guys projected later because of the other depths, other positions in this draft. Absolutely, and I like this guy right here, Sean and Spartan. Yeah. I like him because of his size, because of he's got a little bit of anger in him when he hits people. I want a safety who can play up in the box or could play back in center field for you. This kind of guy I like right here.
Yep.
Real quick, guys, just want to shout out to Neil right here. He just came through and gave a donation to New York Giants Rush and said, "You guys are the best. Let's effing go, Giants."
Well, thank you. Oh my goodness.
All right, Neil. Neil's my guy.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate you following the show for many years, man. Just thank you so much. And Craig will invest that somewhere. We'll figure where we'll hear about that one later, I guess. But always goes right back in the show and whatnot. Because Craig's man cave is sick enough, so he doesn't need any more nutriment. So we promise. So we appreciate.
Have you seen his man cave live, Spartan?
Oh, absolutely, man. It's a big old McMansion basement.
I'm going to tell him to put that towards a Joker Rush shirt. That's what we need.
That's right. That's right. Or like maybe get part of your tattoo covered next time, like the next extension.
Right.
Yeah. He'll pay you to put a skull on your forearm.
There you go.
Oh man. All right. Hey, we're getting to your favorite guy because I know we talked about him backstage. Cole Bishop. Utah is the most underrated football program of the last 15 years. They never get the respect they should. They're down. I mean, they've had the same coach since Urban Meyer left.
Yep.
The problem is they've never actually had like one or two seasons where they actually dominate. They just always go like, 11 wins at best and don't make the playoffs and don't win the Pac-12 and nobody remembers them. Tell me about Cole Bishop because I'm always intrigued by these guys.
Yeah, so this is a guy that I'm really high on, and he really caught my attention. I mean, he caught my attention on film watching games, but he really stood out to me among all the others at the combine for sure, right? So when you talk about size, 6'2", 206, 4.45 40. So again, the game film, it shows up. He's just as fast off the field as well. He's a productive tackler. So again, things that we've talked about here that are important, right? 3-year starter. Another thing that's really impressive to me is that you're a 3-year starter there at Utah at a really good defense, right? He's projected as a 3rd-round guy, but he's really the burst, the hustle. He's one of those high motor guys, right? And again, just watching him at the combine, he just impressed me. Like he stood out. Again, all those guys that talent there. This is a guy I'd love to have on the Giants. Again, I think he fits into what fans will like. He's one of 2 guys, interesting enough, both out of Utah that I think fans will love. So I'm pretty high on this guy for sure.
Yeah, he's a good player. I like him too. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, look, I mean, we have 2 players from Utah. So I need you to tell me a little bit more about this one dude, Sionovaki, and then just tell me, like, what was the dynamic between him and Bishop like? Because he's also an elite prospect.
Yeah, Sionovaki, so this is why I like this guy. He's gonna go later rounds, right? But he's a guy, think of Jabril Peppers, but not the talent of Jabril Peppers, right? The guy played running back for Utah. He's a special teams guy, and he played safety. This is a guy that's going to do whatever he wants to do for the team. He's that guy, like I just talked about with Bishop. Without a doubt, he'd be a fan favorite on this team, right? So you want guys that can do that. He's a good tackler, smart tackler, right? Conscientious tackler there.
Yeah.
He was a productive player there, right? So him and Bishop feeding off each other, they were good there. He's going to struggle in man coverage, so you're probably going to use him in the box a little bit more, support against the run. But again, he's a guy that he's not going to – he's in the top 15, right? But he's a guy that is probably going to contribute a lot on special teams, probably as like that third safety look, right? Special downs, whatever. And he's a guy who's just going to do whatever you need to do. Like that's the kind of guy you want, in my opinion, that's the guy you want to have on the team to earn a spot there because – he's going to earn the spot. And again, the fact that he played running back as well when the team was hurt by running back injuries, and he did well. Like, he's not going to be an NFL running back, but he went in and he did well as running back.
If Bill Belichick heard about that, he would, I mean, that would be instant grab.
Patriots pick. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Patriots 6th-round pick, special teamer for life. You know.
Exactly.
That's exactly – he's going to earn a roster spot because of his special teams play in training camp and the preseason games. That's what I see.
Yeah, he's built like a bowling ball. He's 5'11", 210, 4'6", 240, which isn't bad, but his game speed is definitely more than what his 40 time was, right? But again, he's built like a bowling ball. So it's a cool guy. Again, a guy that can play that many positions, do those things. And again, he's a less talented version of Jabril Peppers, but what's not to like about having somebody like that on the roster, right?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going to move on to the 5 dudes that I have. The first one I want to go with is out of the SEC, Javon Bullard. You know, when I watch this guy play, I mean, he's a real dominant guy that's right up there with some of the better safeties in terms of projections. So his tackling is phenomenal. Like, compared to what the tackling quality is of the average NFL safety today, his tackling is impeccable. That, you know, I know that Carl Banks, if he saw his clips, he would agree with me and he would fall in love with him right away. You know, the other things that he does just absolutely excellent job of. His speed on the field is excellent. We talked about this earlier too, Truth, where, you know, sometimes the 40s don't really quite line up with the like with how their speed was, you know, and he is one of the fastest safeties we've gone over. Not many of these guys have broken 4.4, you know, and he hasn't either. He's close. He's 4.47. But when you watch him play football, his speed is just so much more electric because it's that turning speed, and you can almost just not measure that, right? He breaks up passes very well. So, I mean, he's not the best of all time when it comes to just man coverage. But what I really like to see out of any of these safeties is, all right, they're covering a dude. Even though you might not be in front of the guy, let's say the guy got in front of you, are you able to break up the pass? And this guy does that very well. He gets his hands where they need to be in a very quick amount of time, spreads the arms open, and makes sure that the ball is not caught. He is very, very good at that. Issues he has, he loses the footing too easily, too frequently, and he does have a habit of getting torched on deep routes. So I don't know if that has to do with recognition of the defense, or what the case is, or maybe he just personally struggles with fast receivers, or adjusting his body so that he can keep up with their speed. So that's just something that he would have to work on at the NFL level. But again, his tackling and the breaking up of the passes is very good from this guy. Truth, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, this guy here, he has the versatility to play cornerback in a pinch.
Right.
You talked about that with his athletic ability, and he's a typical Georgia Bulldog corner or secondary player. Very athletic, very physical. Like they all come from the same bloodline. So here's a guy who's gonna come in there. I agree with you. I think he's gonna be a round 2, probably a late round 2 draft pick. To a team that's that can go get a extra corner in the draft. Probably will not be the Giants at 47. I don't see that happening, but
I don't think so. I don't think he's going at 47, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went within the few picks right after that.
Yeah. So, but he's a great athlete, and again can play a corner in a pinch if you need him.
Absolutely. So the next guy I want to go over is another dude I kind of fell in love with, Cameron Kitchens. And it's funny about these, me and Truth have been talking about this every week. there seems to be duplicates of the same position on the same team that are getting drafted at well, at least made the top 15 or top 10 within their class. And so we got 2 safeties from Utah, 2 safeties from Georgia we're going over tonight, and 2 safeties from Miami. Like, I mean, that's pretty incredible if you think about how many players there are in college football just in general. And it does change how we look at these guys a little bit because we have to talk about how we did earlier with Bishop and Vaki. How do these guys play in sync with one another? Who was the strong safety? Who was the free safety? What kind of reps did they get? Who took on more responsibility? So things of that nature do make it a little bit more challenging. So I will admit I don't know how to break that out. So I'm just going to tell you what I saw from Kinchins. And what I saw is a dude that just has incredible vision for the offensive play breakdown. When you watch the play unfold, or when he does, I should say, he does a phenomenal job of figuring out where he needs to be or having an understanding of what's likely going to happen, who the target receiver is, what the reads are going to be. Those are the nods that this dude has gotten. He can move around the field very, very fast. He's, again, willing to lay it out on tackles, and dive. Now, here's the issue, though. He's one of those guys, he's not really wrapping up. His tackling form is pretty poor, and I'm just worried he's going to get hurt. Really more so for his sake rather than whatever team he ends up on. I just want to make sure he keeps his head up. That's fixable. That's fit. You can't coach speed. You can coach that. And he does seem flexible in terms of his ability to play free or strong safety. The coaches at Miami have said that, he had a little bit more flexibility in doing so. Needs to be a little bit more tested on deep routes. Wasn't able to get an assessment there. And he has bad angles when it comes to chasing down runners. I don't really know what it is. It's a bit of an odd issue, especially for a dude that has, he didn't have the best 40 time. It was a 4.65. I forgot to mention that. But still reasonable enough to be able to take the proper angles and at least try to get to the running back. But he would get run to the outside and wouldn't make it over to the running back. It's a little bit weird. He's making ankle tackles to make up for it. That's something that he's definitely going to have to clean up. That was a little bizarre. Overall, I really liked him, and I don't know how you feel, Truth, about him versus the other Miami safety, but I like Kinchins a lot.
Well, I'm going to let Sean jump in this too, but I think he was best safety of the 2 at Miami.
I agree. He was the shortest one because that was one thing with Williams, and we'll talk about that. He's 6'5", but
yeah. I'll let Shawnee jump in on this to see what he thinks.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know he was rated high. That I'm curious to see how far he drops based on what he did at the combine, because his athletic score was not very good. Not just the 40 time, but he really struggled at the combine. So it'll be again, that's a guy where, the film shows up, plays on there. He struggled at the combine. How much is that going to impact him? So he's not being talked about as much as he was prior to the combine, prior to the season. Yeah. So I'm curious to see where he'll fall, and if that Miami safety reputation will help him overcome some of the things that, where his athletic score, athletic ability kind of suffered with what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
it's a very interesting point. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Truth.
No, I'm sorry. No, I can tell you right now, if he does fall in the draft, there will be several guys that we've talked about throughout these the draft shows. They're going to be such great value. If this guy falls, it's great value for a team that picks him.
For sure. But it's odd, right? Here's the test. It's like, all right, he played pretty good, but he fell in the draft. He fell, he'll fall because of his poor combine.
That's the combine for you.
Yeah. It's almost like when you hear that, it's like it'd probably be better if he was hurt that week. I hate to say it, it'd probably be better if he got the stomach bug and had to sit out. But,
I think that's why some guys rather do a pro day where they feel comfortable in their surroundings and with their own teammates. I think that's why you're seeing a lot of guys do that. It must be stressful, that combine, when you're doing that in that big setting,
Well, some people are starting to sit out. That is starting to happen. I think Caleb's sitting out of the combine. I thought that's what I heard, and people can say, "Oh, it's a bad look if you don't show up to the combine," but who knows? Maybe it is more beneficial to not show up to the combine and not have a dent if you're already the leading guy in the class. I mean, it may
Yeah,
not have
like
been.
Right.
It may have
Marvin
been.
Harrison Jr. He set out too. Marvin
Right.
Harrison.
Yeah, if you got nothing to prove, right?
Yeah.
That's a big thing there. And Kitchens is 5'11", so that's going to hurt him a little bit there too. So when you kind of combine those two things, that may it'll be interesting to where it drops. But again, he was talked about very, very highly throughout before the season, during the season, all that. Just we'll see what the combine does for him. But I like him.
Yeah. The real quick, I got a comment up here from. Please bring Mark Thompson on the panel. All three of you guys echo each other. You guys read each other's notes. Man, listen, we've had Mark on. We've had Mark on before, and we always make.
He says the same thing we say.
Mark is an awesome guy to have in the comments at all times because he's doing a lot of homework himself, right? I swear to God, I mean, truth between you and him, it's like you guys, and we've had him on for the draft analysis. The notebooks are thick, and we love and appreciate Mark, man. We appreciate. He's always tuning in from Barbados. He has invited us down there. Relatively open invite, but we got to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I'm sure they got nice golf courses down
New York
there.
Giants rushes. We do get free invites to Mark's house. Well, he didn't say the free part, but hopefully we maybe. But no, I get Mark. Appreciate you, man. Next on the list.
Let's not agree this time. Let's be controversial.
I thought I was just controversial there. I kind of went against Kitchens there.
I thought so.
I think we were all three in agreement there.
All right, we're gonna go the Skip Bayless route. All right, fine. Dadrian Taylor Demerson is complete trash, man. He doesn't have the ability to make it. No, I'm kidding. Well, actually, in fairness, I didn't think he was very good, but I would have said it more professionally. What I do like, the wide range of flexibility and ball hawk, kind of to what you're talking about with Newman. Especially with his reach too. He has the ability to kind of stretch, and I'd love to see him do that drill that they used to do in sports science, where it's like, jump left, jump right, jump up. I guarantee you he's got one of the highest ranges of any player in the draft. He tackles hard and willingly, good angles, but here we go again. Needs to wrap up. It's a head injury risk for him. He's going to get targeting calls. If you watch his tackling form, it is not only dangerous for himself, but it's going to get his team in trouble, and he's going to get kicked out of the game, whether he gets hurt or not. Offensive recognition, not the best. Flexibility and versatile over the field, but he does miss some plays there. So, I mean, all in all, he's a good player. I mean, he's had a good run with Texas Tech, but he's on the lower end in terms of the dudes that I was watching. All right, Truth, disagree with me. We got to be controversial.
Well, look, this guy, the guys that you're naming, so far we've talked about, I think this is the least athletic and talent level guy of the bunch thus far. Good player, but I think he's going to have to, have his A game to make a roster. I really do. I think it's going to be hard.
Yeah, he's picking up some steam with Giants fans. Apparently, I'm not. I don't know why, but it seems like there's some good amount of Giants fans that are starting to like him as a favorite. I mean, yeah,
I'm shocked. A little undersized,
Yep. So
I really think that Shane, if he does draft a safety in the draft, I think he's going to go with a guy with a little bigger length, more length to him. That's because you look at the guys we got already. I think he wants to add a different type of safety to offset what we have, because we have all the guys we got like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
I think he wants some more. That's what I think. Anyway.
Well, Pennick what's his height? Because he seems taller than the other ones we have, right?
Yeah, he's lean looking. I don't know how tall he is. Someone can tell us. He don't look.
He's 6 foot.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, right? But compared to, let me see.
It's kind of on par at this point, right? It's like, fair enough. Just make the tackles.
Yeah, and Belton's 6'1". I didn't realize that. Okay. So,
tell you what, guys, I'll give you one. My next guy is 6'5". He is a 6'5" safety. You ever heard of that? The unfortunate thing is he actually had the same exact 40 time as the other Miami safety, but that one's 5'11", so he shouldn't have had as 4.65. But So yeah, real quick. Well, I mean, while I have him up, I mean, James Williams, he's complimentary in that he is a good tackler. He picks up passes over the middle of the field very well, like the tight end coverage that the Giants could never figure out with safeties. Like, you know how Jason Witten torches for about a decade and a half. This guy probably would have been the dude that could have stopped that from happening. I just it seemed to be a specialty for whatever reason. I think he also had better deep coverage too, which is something that was kind of missing a little bit with Kinchins. Big size, obviously, and even though that 40-yard dash is the same as Kitchens, he doesn't have that the explosive speed that you would want to see, and that movement, the ability to move laterally. I didn't think he really quite had that locked down. And then again, tackling's an issue with him as well. It's kind of a shame. At 6'5", I just figured he could. Yep. In my head, I would imagine that he would feel a little bit more comfortable using force and getting down and doing a tackle. I mean, he's not that much bigger. He's not that much smaller, if you will, than some of the guys on the front line of scrimmage. So, just something I've noticed from him. Any further comments on him? I know we talked about him, about Williams when we talked about Kinchins. So.
Well, I know there's a lot of reports about teams looking to transition him as a linebacker. Whether he can do that, he's going to have to add bulk. I think they say he's around 215. So obviously at 6'5", he can probably put some bulk on and be a linebacker. I don't know if he can do it, but that's what I'm hearing and reading.
I wonder what his background is. Like, I wonder if he was a wide receiver when he was brought onto the team and then moved to safety. I mean, you hear that with a little bit more with running backs that transition to safety, but I mean, at his size, I'm almost amazed he's not playing. Say at 4.65, that'll do it. I mean, that makes sense. But tell you what, though, I mean, if we're talking about a player that's looking at being transitioned, I personally wouldn't want the Giants to even bother exploring him. I mean, unless you're getting the 5th pick, 6th pick, 7th round pick. I mean, if it's a project, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
I said, well, Darius brings up a good point. Hamilton's 6'4", so I mean, the height with there, he can do it. I mean, it's a nice last line of defense, right? And if he's
that's a tough comparison, though.
Yeah. No, I get it.
He's a beast.
Yeah. No. I mean, you had some guys that, James Butler was 6'3", so he kind of put it in that kind of vein, maybe.
Yeah.
James Butler, who had a pretty good career, with the Giants, pretty decent
career.
Yeah,
another guy. I forgot to bring him up. That's a good one.
So it's not a bad thing. If you get him later in the draft, that value, like you were talking about earlier, Truth, right? Get some of these guys diamond in the rough.
Yep.
It's funny thing about Kyle Hamilton. I mean, I remember watching him 2 years ago, Truth, when we first did this. And I mean, my God, he may have been just like the most talented all-around player that we saw that year. And granted, he played safety, so we didn't really value it as much as other positions.
That's right.
But that was example number one of a dude that like you absolutely loved went right to the Ravens. Like that's one of the prime examples I think about. There's many more, but that was a funny one.
And I'm
surprised he didn't go top 10.
Yeah. And it's ironic. I think that was the same year that the Giants drafted Evan Neal, and
it was Neal Phibbs year, yeah.
Right. And if the Giants were in a situation, let's just say this was the year, that was the year that Xavier McKinney left. If that was the year and we had a chance to draft Hamilton, you could bet your ass that the Giants would have probably drafted him.
I agree.
Spot.
I think that's what they were probably thinking too, right? It's like, listen, Phibbs will probably be gone. They'll get the best offensive lineman between it was between Neal. They even thought Neal would be off the board and we would get the guy the Panthers ended up going with.
From
NC State. I forget the dude's name.
Yeah.
And Hamilton would be on the board. But man, he was the most talented player just all around that I feel like I looked at. I mean, God, he was good.
He did. He showed well on film. He sure did.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if the Giants took somebody that high up out of safety. I mean, Belton was 4th round. Owens was 7th round. So early on, they've shown that they're going to go later on with safety. Right. So I would be shocked if they took him, anywhere before the 4th round. But who knows?
Because you don't need the best safety in the league to be a good football team, but you can't have a hole at that position, and that's the thing.
Yeah, that's
right?
why I was just saying. McKinney was leaving like it was then he left. And that's a big hole to fill. I mean, Hamilton would have been perfect to fill that hole.
Who was
That's
it?
why I'm
Like
interested.
4 years ago, we had a safety back there, a free safety that was getting torched. Who the hell was that? Because it was like he was getting picked on every single game. And I think it was the Betcher. I think it was the James Betcher years.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember. I try to forget.
Anybody know who that is?
Yeah, Mark, you got that?
Mark.
I feel bad because Giants fans are treating him like garbage on Twitter, but I mean, boy, he was not.
I wish I try to forget those years.
Are we still in those years?
Yeah, no, we're not. It's interesting because I almost feel like the Pinnock signing was the Giants realizing that they may not be able to bring McKinney back at some point because of the money he was going to want, right? So I don't think they view it as a whole on the team right now because, again, Belton stepped up, played well last year. They drafted him in the 4th round. It's in his 3rd year, so he should make a jump there. So I don't think they view it like we view it as a whole, and I don't necessarily view it as a big hole at the safety position because I think both those guys have their strengths, right?
That's true.
That's why I
it's
think
more comforting noting that we have those guys that are. I mean, look, Belton was looking promising in terms of his development, but I just feel like after watching a guy like Hodgins play and not develop last year, I feel like if you weren't already proven that you could be a dude to maintain that position, you got to at least kind of keep your head on a swivel and have a backup plan in case it doesn't work out.
Yeah. And again, I think that's why they brought in Pinnock. They saw it. They knew it was going to happen. They liked him. He was young, and they were prepared for that. And that's also, I think, why they drafted Owens in the 7th round after drafting Belton in the 4th round. So, again, they could eye a guy. They could bring a guy in that maybe played under Bowen. They could draft somebody later in the round. We'll see.
Real quick, this was it. Yep, it was Curtis who said it first.
Riley, that's right.
Dude, he was. I mean,
they brought him back too. Did they bring him back?
Yeah, they did.
That is what it looks like when you have the 32nd ranked safety in football. I mean, we were getting torched, right?
Yep.
Instead of attacking the corner, they just crushed that dude. Oh, so that's the thing. It's like have somebody that just is like at least average out there. I can survive with it. If you want to get Kyle Hamilton, that's great, but try to get a great quarterback first. Anyway.
Tudo, real quick, Spartan. Tudo has a thing down here on the bottom. Talked about this kid, a rugby player that the NFL's looking at. I did read about him, Tudo, a little bit. And if the NFL is indeed interested in this kid, it's going to be like a tryout thing, and he's going to have to really shine to make take a job away from an NFL player. That's how I see it.
Unless, of course, he goes to the Eagles to be the offensive lineman. I mean, that one dude did it. Christ. Of course, the Eagles found a way. All right. Let me wrap up the guys that I have. Renardo Green from Florida State. This is a guy that's going to go pretty late. He is a very good tackler. He's great in man coverage. Explosive and moves around the field very quick. And with tons of versatility. Issues. He's at the smaller end. Footwork is pretty bad. And overcompensates for his size by lowering his head. And then just overall, I didn't find him to be that consistently dominant of a player for me to maintain that much interest in. So this is a Florida State safety, by the way. So I don't really know if you want to even bother talking about him much further truth. For me personally, it's not worth it.
No, he kind of falls with the same along the same lines. A guy from Texas Tech.
Yeah,
he's gonna have to battle to get a roster spot. A good athlete, but the NFL's full of great athletes.
Yeah, exactly. We don't. When I think of drafting guys for being good athletes, I think of Jerry Reese, right? Wasn't that what everybody always said? Like he would go for athletes, not talent.
Yep, not football players. He went for athletes.
Athletes, yeah. Well, anyway, all right, Truth. We are on to the home run stretch now with your dudes. So let's start with Tyree Smith, another Georgia player, and how did he complement the other guy?
Well, look, he's built the same way as Javon Bullock. They look the same in a uniform. Typical Georgia defensive back. They're great athletes. They hit you. They may not have the great form in tackling like the NFL's producing bad tacklers, but the kid can play. He's a good quality player. I got him going in round 4 or 5 on day 3. He has good coverage versatility. He can play a little man, a little zone. He's a quality player, but he's a little undersized, and I would just rather have a guy a little bit more size to him, length to him, to be my safety.
Yeah, did he ever
Marks, what
try
do you
to?
think?
I was going to ask this truth. Does he ever try to like overcompensate for his size by poor tackling, or does he kind of have that?
Yeah, he's a hitter. For his size, he hits, but like a lot of guys we watch now, they don't wrap their arms, and that's a frustrating thing. I watch guys play. They don't wrap their arms. And I don't know if it's being taught in the high school level and college, but you certainly see it in the NFL. And he's a prototypical player from the Georgia that plays that way.
Yeah. I have no further questions on Smith. What's his projection though, Truth?
I got him day 3, like a 4th or 5th round pick. That's how I see it.
They're spitting out George because Bullard's going to go higher than that, in my opinion. So
probably, yeah, I see that 3rd probably or earlier.
I'm thinking 3rd. I'm thinking Bullard goes 3rd. Yeah, Mark, real quick, we've talked about this, man. It's a common issue across the board of the quality of tackling going down. And
Hey,
go ahead.
I'm just reading Tudo. He commented on my comment about rugby players. No disrespect, Tudo. Down. Go to his next one. Go down. One more. Go down. There it is, right there. How many rugby players have been game changers in the NFL?
1.
And who was that?
Who was that?
Well, hold on. Well, I mean, I'm thinking the dude from the Eagles, the offensive lineman. But I will say this though, I think a lot of the times we don't hear about any transitions from rugby players to NFL players.
I know they're great athletes. Of course, they're great athletes.
Well, because what usually had unlike that case with the Eagles, dude, everybody else moved to the United States when they were in high school from Australia or somewhere in Europe or some other part of the world that plays rugby, the Samoa or something like that, and then they transition to football. That does happen a lot, and it's successful at that level.
And you can't question their toughness, that's for sure. I mean,
right, but getting a 24-year-old dude that's already pro at rugby to switch to the NFL, I mean, I've never. That's the only incident I can think of. Okay, worth talking about though. That's a great topic. We need to have that should have been in the New York Giants rush segment. Bring it up for Craig tomorrow.
Let me just say this one thing. I'm in the golf industry, and we have exchange programs with kids from Africa, England, all over Europe. And I had a bet with somebody, Tudo, and could probably do this with me. I had a bet that I can put together 11 players from NFL, teach them rugby, and he could take 11 players from rugby, teach them football, then let them play each other and their respective sport. Which team would win the most games? Really? And I said football players would, and they said rugby players. There's a big debate, So I wonder what, I'm sure I know what Tudo would say.
We got to make that happen. Can you imagine if they did that and you get the best NFL players, teach them how to play rugby, and then get the best rugby players, teach them how to play football, and then just boom, just see what happens.
Let them play, see who would win. I'm just curious on that one.
But I feel like some of those guys become a little bit more redundant. Like, would Tom Brady have even been relevant in the world of rugby? I don't know.
He would never make it. He get hurt.
Yeah,
Tom Brady. But I'm talking about.
Imagine Micah Parsons playing rugby. Woo!
Khalil Mack. Guys like that. Those linebackers who can run like deers. That's what I'm thinking. Get those guys converted into rugby players. How frightening would that be?
Oh, that'd be something else. Oh man! All right, Evan Williams out of Oregon. What do you got, Truth?
He's a prototypical safety. He's got average size, like we've been talking about, 5'11", 200 pounds. He does have a nose for the ball. He's got good instincts. He's not one of those fastest guys. He also runs in a 4.6, a high 4.6s. So, here's a guy, if he does get drafted, he's probably going to be a late day 3, like round 5 or so, maybe later. not a bad player, not at all. Not my choice. If the Giants were selecting, if they are going to get a safety, he would be my choice. But he's not a bad ball player.
Gotcha. What about Bo Braid out of Maryland? Now, by the way, Maryland is another school that they haven't really produced that many wins, but they have produced a lot of football players as of late. You know, guys that we went over, Deontay Banks is one of them. What are your thoughts on Braid?
Well, he's a good player. He's again, same build, 6 foot, around 200, a little over 200 pounds. He's out of the 5 guys I have, he's my second favorite safety in my 5. He comes from, like you said, Maryland, played alongside Deontay Banks. And, we were talking off air, and I was saying, gee, I wonder if Deontay Banks is in Shane's ear about this kid, because he is projected to go, late in day 3, like around 4. He's got very good blend of physicality and versatility. He's a good player. He knows how to play football. He's not just an athlete. He's a football player.
But still projecting the later rounds. I got nothing on Braid.
Okay.
Oh, Maryland's some defensive guys. So,
well, let's go to the next one. Okay, talked about how Braid was my.
What's that?
Keaton Oladipo.
Yeah, he played under John Smith.
Okay, so I talked about Braid being my second favorite of the 5 I have. This is my favorite. All right, this guy has the length, the size, 6'2", 216. He was the captain on defense, one of the captains on defense. We know how much Shane likes that with leadership qualities and captain responsibilities. The guy can play in the box. He can play center field. He likes to be physical, and believe it or not, he likes to wrap his arms. He tackles the way we all tackled when we were taught when we were young, and that's what I like about this kid.
Supposedly he's a great athlete. Like this dude, I know we're just talking about like, oh, we don't want to draft athletes, but apparently like all around the dude's just like an all-encompassing athlete.
Yep, and this kid, I seen him play a lot of games. I watched against Washington. He made a couple of plays. One, he chased down their running back. I think it's Dylan Johnson, the Washington running back.
Yeah.
He caught him from behind, and not only did he tackle him, he stripped the ball, and then Oregon State recovered it. He's had a number, I think he's had 4 or 5 interceptions on the year. And I think this kid is a kid, and I'm surprised. He's like showing like a 4th or 5th round pick. I know he's a little older, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't mind the Giants using one of the late picks on this kid if he's there. And then looking at
we talk about too old. How old are we talking?
If someone can help me out, go off the top of my head, I think he's like 23 years old. Someone can look for me. It might be almost
23. Not uncommon for right now, though. I mean, the last couple of years, how old these players are getting.
But I really like this kid. I think I like his moxie. I like the way he plays football, and I like the fact that he could play the box and also play center field.
Well, again, I mean, we're talking about a guy that was on a team this past year, and he was captain that defense, which I love to hear. Oregon State balled out this past year, right?
They had a good team. Yeah, they did.
I mean, they had a phenomenal team, and this is Oregon. They don't have that much talent to deal with within their state. He is an Oregon guy, by the way. He played at Catholic High School in Portland. Yep. They don't have that much talent to begin with, and they're number 2 in their state, right? And so the fact that they were able to go out and do what they did and have players like him elevate the team, that speaks a lot of volume, And obviously, you got to assess the player's talent at the end of the day, but I think that alone should be a little bit of a nod in terms of his assessment. I really do. There's something. Yeah.
Sean, have you seen his tape of this guy at all?
Yeah, I think the thing that hurt him, and again, talking about before, is like what he did at the combine kind of put him down. And again, with the amount of talent in other positions in this draft, I think that hurts him. And I know we were talking earlier about, well, if you go up against passing, but Pac-12 isn't known for the defense. So guys in the Pac-12, they're playing safeties, they're playing that, they're going to go down because it's not a league known for playing solid defense, right? There's only really 1 or 2 teams that are known for playing defense. And even ones that do get that knock because, again, it's such a high scoring conference, right? So I think those things combined is where it's kind of dropped him down. But he's a guy that, again, with his tackling and things like that, he can be up there. He's a guy that can develop into. He's not going to come in and do something right away, in my opinion, but he can develop into a starter at some point. But I think those are the things that have hurt him with where he's projected to go in the draft. But the older dudes, getting back to that point, I think I saw that.
Yeah, I can bring it up.
The COVID thing, exactly. Like, you can't look at it as guys are staying back. Like, that COVID year really kind of hurt some guys. So you're going to have people, and you can't view it like you did in years past. Like, you really have to view it differently, because of the COVID years. Great point, Mark.
And I say this, like, if you think somebody's more talented than the next guy and they're 24, it's 24-year-old versus a 21-year-old, I'd still argue that getting 8 years out of a better player is better than getting 11 years out of an average one.
Yeah.
I've been arguing that for Penix. I mean, if you don't think Penix is a good quarterback, fair enough. But I've been arguing that in favor of Penix like this whole time. Like, shut up about the age thing. I don't want to hear it. If he's a good quarterback, get a good quarterback. Just in general, in the grand scheme of things, not Penix specific to his play. I understand if people have a problem with that.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people, the age is they say, well, the reason they dominate in college is because they're older, they've been around there longer, they've seen things more, and will that translate to the NFL? Like, so that's part of the reason. But I agree with you. Like,
that's fair. That's fair.
Well, I agree. Like, the age doesn't concern me much anymore because, again, of what happened those couple of years with COVID, right? So
yeah.
I am curious though with the transfer portal if that's going to push things back a little bit too, like a little bit. Obviously not like COVID did, where it creates donut holes, but guys moving around a few times before they get drafted. You're not in one program to kind of grow. But anyway, last one, Malik Mustafa out of Wake Forest. So this is the we always save like your the dark horses for the last one, to be truth. So tell me about him, and then Sean, if you have anything else. The comment section has made it clear I haven't passed the mic to you, and I apologize if you have felt that is the case. I will make sure you get speaking.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I'll tell you, I'll be brief with him. I'll let Shawnee take the mic. I'll be brief. This kid has a little more compact frame. He does a little bit of everything pretty well. He has a physicality, which you like, and he hustles. I saw him a lot in pursuits where he doesn't give up on a play. That's what I like. I love watching guys who don't quit. That tells me a lot about a football player. So, but again, this is a kid on my list that's going to probably be the last safety of the 15 that we covered, the last safety that's going to be selected, I think. So, what do you think, Shawnee? You got anything on him?
I think he's going to be one of those guys like Vaki, right? He's going to be a special teamer. He'll be that, high motor guy, and late round guy, but he'll probably develop into a fan favorite, right? Because he's gonna be that guy that's gonna work hard. He's gonna do special teams, and you need guys like that. But again, he's gonna be later round, so I think he could turn into a fan favorite. To me, like I said, it'll be like Vaki out of Utah.
Yep. Fans love the underdog. They love guys who
especially this team too, right? It's like, I swear a lot of the times fans would rather see a 9-11 underdog championship from the Giants than a 14-2 pure dominance run.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're used to, baby.
Right. And I know I said it off air. I don't know if I said it on air too, but just for the Giants fans on here too, like, don't sleep on Javarius Owens. He was having a really good camp last year, but he got injured. And there's guys that watched even more football than I watched that were pretty high on him as well. So don't be surprised if he recovers from that injury, if he comes back and he makes an impact. Because, again, he was having a really, really good camp last season until the injury.
Yeah. We got some development there in the pipeline. So, it is a little bit different in terms of how we look at this. I'm with you.
Yep.
Hey, just one last point, because I know we talked about this off air too, but it's worth bringing back up. I think Cooper DeJean is one of the, is a player that they have mentioned. Right Truth is possibly being a dude that's going to switch over to safety.
Yeah, I did read that in a few articles, whether or not it's true, but I did read that. Cooper DeJean.
But now, where's he projected to go? He's projected to go pretty high, isn't he?
I don't know, Sean. You can tell me, but I'm seeing a lot of somewhere between 15 and 25. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, same where there. And again, it depends on what he goes. There's a lot of people that put him as cornerback / safety. So I think he'll start as corner, but they could transition to safety depending on how he does there. But yeah, that's the range he's looking at. So I said earlier, he just seems like a Steelers guy, right? Like that's a guy that's going to go to the Steelers and blend right in there and fit right in.
They wear the same jerseys, so he's
kind of similar. His size, he's kind of similar to Cole Bishop, isn't he? I'm going off memory. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I think so. I'll look it up.
Well, I wonder what's causing the debate for him to be switched over to safety. We're actually covering the corners next week, and that'll wrap up the season. I'm sorry for the individual, like the player breakdown, but like, is his 42 slow?
That I don't know. I'm going to cover that next week.
I'm going to look that up right now. But his size, he's similar to Bishop. Bishop's 6'2", 206, and DeJean is 6'1", 205. So basically the same. His he did not run the 40 at the combine, so I don't know what he's going to do at his pro day. But looking kind of, I think just probably because of it probably would be the speed, but maybe just those ball hawking skills, right? Like, pardon me, putting him back there with that, and they may have the concerns about the speed with him.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, like Spartan says, next week we'll do the cornerbacks. And we have a guest, Kyle Lindeman's going to be on. We've had him on the show before, so it's going to be fun having him on. I like stuff that he puts out there on Twitter.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, as we wrap up this episode, I do want to say everybody who's been tuning in, just thank you so much, Sean. Thank you. I mean, you've been on multiple of these episodes throughout the off season, also being on New York Giants Rush. So we do appreciate you coming on, man. It's always a blast.
Oh yeah, man, I love it. I enjoy this. So it's fun with you guys, fun with the fans and the comments. It's awesome.
No matter how reckless those comments get.
And we're gonna have you back on. We're gonna do after we cover the corners, we're going to have like fan participation, and then we're going to have everybody figure out who the Giants are going to pick in the first round. So that will be fun before the draft actually comes. So
truth. We'll get together on the coordination of the fan episode, because obviously we're going to want the usuals to get brought up. Mark, we're looking at you, man. All right, guys. Hey, listen, thank you all so much for tuning in. Next week is cornerbacks. Until then, tune into Rush tomorrow. Appreciate all you guys. Take care. Bye.